Hey there, I'm Blake Watkins, and this is the Blake's Everyday Podcast. It's a new podcast. I just wanted to kind of start it out today. It's gonna have a little bit of everything. So, for the most part, Blake's Everyday Podcast is gonna be like just everyday stuff. For one, I'm gonna read the Bible, and I want to continue on my journey and bring you with me on that. And we can talk about sports and all that type of cool stuff. But today, I'm reading the book of Job, and I left off last time on, let's see, on Job chapter 20. So tonight we're going to start off right there. We're going to go on to the book of Job chapter 20. And I'm going to read along. I'm going to read, and you can read along if you'd like. If you'd rather just listen, that's great. But the whole thing is to look back and, and teach people the good word, and maybe even save some people, or maybe this will teach me a lot. This is also going to help me on my journey with God. So I'm going to start at chapter 20. I wish I would have had this going when I was on chapter 1. That way we could have started at the beginning of the book of Job, but this works out too, So starting in chapter 20, then Zophar the Naamathite replied, "My troubled thoughts prompt me to answer, because I am greatly disturbed. I hear a rebuke that dishonors me, and my understanding inspires me to reply. Surely you know how it has been from of old, ever since mankind was placed on the earth, that the mirth of the wicked is brief. The joy of the godless lasts but a moment. Though the pride of the godless person reaches to the heavens, and his head touches the clouds, he will perish forever like his own dung. Those who have seen him will say, 'Where is he?' Like a dream he flies away, no more to be found, banished like a vision of the night. The eye that saw him will not see him again. His place will look on him no more. His children must make amends to the poor. His own hands must give back his wealth. The youthful vigor that fills his bones will lie with him in the dust. Though evil is sweet in his mouth, and he hides it under his tongue, though he cannot bear to let it go and let it linger in his mouth. Yet his food will turn sour in his stomach. It will become the venom of serpents within him. He will spit out the riches he swallowed. God will make his stomach vomit them up. He will suck the poison of serpents. The fangs of an adder will kill him. He will not enjoy the streams, the rivers flowing with honey and cream. What he toiled for he must give back uneaten. He will not enjoy the profit from his trading, for he has oppressed the poor and left them destitute. He has seized houses he did not build. Surely he will have no respite from his craving. He cannot save himself by treasure. Nothing is left for him to devour. His prosperity will not endure. In the midst of his plenty, distress will overtake him. The full force of misery will come upon him. When he has filled his belly, God will vent his burning anger against him and rain down his blows on him. Though he flees from an iron weapon, a bronze-tipped arrow pierces him. He pulls it out of his back, the gleaming point out of his liver. Terrors will come over him. Total darkness lies in wait for his treasures. A fire unfanned will consume him and devour what is left in his tent. The heavens will expose his guilt. The earth will rise up against him. A flood will carry off his house, rushing waters on the day of God's wrath. Such is the fate God's outs the wicked, the heritage appointed for them by God. So we got a whole lot of things to talk about. So Zophar is basically Job's friend, and he's been on a whole mission to just kind of make Job feel ungodly, and that's basically what he's trying to accomplish here and there, because he doesn't think that Job's misery is just because fault, basically. He thinks that Job is getting punished for being ungodly and sinning, but we all know that Job wasn't doing anything bad here, and Job knows that, and in previous chapters, he's trying to make his case. He's trying to tell him, hey, dude, that's not how that's working out. I did it this way, and I did not sin, but you speak ill of me, even though I didn't do anything wrong here. So Zophar is not really a great friend, and I can kind of read from you a couple notes that I have made from previous chapters. Like here's Job 18, 1 through 21. Here's some notes from there. We can all see the frustration of Job as he longed for just a little comfort from his friends. Bildad wanted to know why Job offered speeches and why he regarded the words of his friends as stupid. The answer is fairly simple. Job's friends didn't know what they were talking about. We should never burden our suffering friends with unnecessary guilt. God is their ultimate judge. We should be support to our friends in need. So, and that's more of a message for everybody out there. I think a lot of people get led into a place where they want to kind of guilt people, especially when they feel righteous. But we all need to know that that's not okay unless you're ready to be judged on that when you are ready to meet God. That's the ultimate judge, and he's gonna bring it up. So it's always important to kind of note that and remember that when you're talking to people, or even just let's say you're guilt tripping somebody or anything like that. It's always important. Like especially like you see those people in the highway, flipping you off on for something super little, but that kind of stuff may linger with you all day. But some of that stuff, it's like, the heck did I do? But I'm going to continue here at Job chapter 21. There's not a lot to write down there, just because it's Zophar kind of going wild with his words. But then Job replied, "Listen carefully to my words. Let this be the consolation you give me. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken, mock on. Is my complaint directed to a human being? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be appalled. Clap your hand over your mouth when I think about this. I am terrified. Trembling seizes my body." Sorry about that. When I think about this, I am terrified. Trembling seizes my body. Why do the wicked live on, growing old and increasing in power? They see their children established around them, their offspring before their eyes. Their homes are safe and free from fear. The rod of God is not on them. Their bowls never fail to breed, their cows calve and do not miscarry. They send forth their children as a flock. Their little ones dance about. They sing to the music of timbrel and lyre. They make merry to the sound of the pipe. They spend their years in prosperity and go down to the grave in peace. Yet they say to God, leave us alone. We have no desire to know your ways. Who is the Almighty that we should serve him? What would we gain by praying to him? But their prosperity is not in their own hands. So I stand aloof from the plans of the wicked. Yet how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out? How often does calamity come upon them? The fate God allots in his anger. How often are they like straw before the wind, like chaff swept away by a gale? Is it said God stores up the punishment of the wicked for their children? Let him repay the wicked so that they themselves will experience it. Let their own eyes see the destruction. Let them drink the cup of the wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care about the families they leave behind when their allotted months come to an end? Can anyone teach knowledge to God, since he judges even the highest? One person dies in full vigor, completely secure and at ease, well nourished in body, bones rich with marrow. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having enjoyed anything good. Side by side they lie in the dust, and worms cover them both. I know full well what you are thinking, the schemes by which you would wrong me. You say, where now is the house of the great, the tents where the wicked lived? Have you never questioned those who travel? Have you paid no regard to their accounts, that the wicked are spared from the day of calamity, that they are delivered from the day of the wrath? Who denounces their conduct to their face? Who repays them for what they have done? They have carried to the grave, and wrath is kept over their tombs. The soil in the valley is sweet to them. Everyone follows after them, and a countless throng goes before them. So how can you console me with your nonsense? Nothing is left of your answers but falsehood. Okay, so sorry about that. So that was chapter 21, all of chapter 21. So far we've read chapter 20 and chapter 21. I'll also read these little things down here at the bottom. It kind of helps me, and I'm sure it'll help you kind of understand a little bit more of the meaning of these. But a personal thought reflection on it is, Job's trying to kind of tell them, kind of tell them off in a way. Like he says here, listen carefully to my words. Let this be the consolation you give me. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken, mock on. So he's at this point, he's kind of fed up with their mocking and all that. So he's getting to a boiling point. So Job chapter 21, 1 through 21. Job refuted Zophar's arguments by saying that the wicked often succeed, have large families, accumulate great wealth, and live long lives. He noted that their homes are safe and free from fear. The rod of God is not on them. That's chapter 21, verse 9. To a large extent, Job was right. Often the wicked do seem to prosper while while the godly suffer. This should remind us that we do not obey and worship God because of what he can do for us, but rather because of who he is. He is worthy of our worship. It is at the same time, we can take comfort in the fact that one day the wicked will be judged and those who follow God will be blessed. Now, Job chapter 21, verses 22 through 26, Job examined the futility of this world's treasures firsthand. His discovery was simple. Those who have known the great prosperity meet the same end as those who have known property. All will die, all bodies will return to the dust, and the treasures we store up in this world will meet the same fate. Earthly conditions don't matter all that much from an eternal perspective. We should store our treasures in heaven, not on earth. It's also important, it's important to live simply and live, righteously, and try to follow the book of God, the good word, and, just live within your means. And so on a personal note, that's something that I've kind of struggled with myself. I like spending money just like a lot of people do. You want the new things. You want to get a new truck. You want to get a new video game console. You want to get a new whatever it is, new TVs, whatever. But it is important to live within your means, and I think there's a good sense that you get when you do start obeying and you start living simply and within your means. It almost gives you kind of like a breath of fresh air, and you start like tithing and stuff. It's, I know a lot of people don't tithe, and I do think it's important though. And whether you think it is or not, it just something that I believe. Yeah, sorry, I keep on saying So we're gonna go ahead and hop on to chapter 22 here. So Eliphaz, then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, "Can a man be of benefit to God? Can even a wise person benefit him? What pleasure would it give the Almighty if you were righteous? What would he gain if your ways were blameless? Is it for your pity that he rebukes you and brings charges against you? Is not your wickedness great? Are not your sins endless? You demanded security from your relatives for no reason. You stripped people of their clothing, leaving them naked. You gave no water to the weary, and you withheld food from the hungry. Though you were a powerful man, owning land, an honored man living on it, and you sent widows away empty-handed, and broke the strength of the fatherless. That is why snares are all around you, why sudden peril terrifies you. Why it is so dark you cannot see, and why a flood of water covers you. Is not God in the heights of heaven? And see how lofty are the highest stars. Yet you say, what does God know? Does he judge through such darkness? Thick clouds veil him, so he does not see us, as he goes about in the vaulted heavens. Will you keep to the old path that the wicked have trod? They were carried off before their time, their foundations washed away by a flood. They said to God, leave us alone. What can the Almighty do to us? Yet it was he who filled their houses with good things. So I stand aloof from the plans of the wicked. The righteous see their ruin and rejoice. The innocent mock them, saying, surely our foes are destroyed, and fire devours their wealth. Submit to God and be at peace with him. In this way, prosperity will come to you. Accept instructions from his mouth and lay up his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be restored. If you remove wickedness far from your tent and assign your nuggets to the dust, your gold of Ophir to the rocks and the ravines, then the Almighty will be your gold, the choicest silver for you. Surely then you will find delight in the Almighty, and will lift up your face to God. You will pray to him, and he will hear you, and you will fulfill your vows. What you decide on will be done, and light will shine on your ways. When people are brought low and you say, lift them up, then he will save the downcast. He will deliver even one who is not innocent, who will be delivered through the cleanness of your hands. So, Job chapter 22, 1 through 10. Eliphaz made up a list of sins he was sure Job had committed at one time or another. The problem was that all his accusations were unfounded. He did not know Job or the things he had done. We must be careful about how we react to the problems or sins of others. We must not accuse others of things we are uninformed about. And that's, if that doesn't hit personally a little bit, that kind of explanation, that's right. You got to be careful on how you accuse people of things when you're uninformed and try to judge others. But on 23 Job, we continue to read, even today my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy in spite of my groaning. If only I knew where to find him. And by the way, this is Job talking now. If only I knew where to find him. If only I could go to his dwelling. I would state my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would find out what he would answer me and consider what he would say to me. Would he vigorously oppose me? No, he would not press charges against me. There the upright can establish their innocence before him, and there I would be delivered forever from my judge. But if I go to the east, he is not there. If I go to the west, I do not find him. When he is at work in the north, I do not see him. When he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him. But he knows the way that I take when he has tested me. I will come forth as gold. My feet have closely followed his steps. I have kept to his way without turning aside. I have not departed from the commands of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my daily bread. But he stands alone, and who can oppose him? He does whatever he pleases. He carries out his decree against me, and many such plans he still has in store. That is why I am terrified before him. When I think of all this, I fear him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. Yet I am not silenced by the darkness, by the thick darkness that covers my face. And we'll just continue reading there. This is Job 24, and I believe it's just Job continuing. Why does the Almighty not set times for judgment? Why must those who know him look in vain for such days? There are those who move boundary stones. They pasture flocks they have stolen. They drive away the orphan's donkey and take the widow's ox in pledge. They thrust the needy from the path and force all the poor of the land into hiding. Like wild donkeys in the desert, The poor go about the labor or foraging food. The wasteland provides food for their children. They gather fodder in the fields and glean in the vineyards of the wicked. Lacking clothes, they spend the night naked. They have nothing to cover themselves in the cold. They are drenched by mountain rains and hug the rocks for lack of shelter. The fatherless child is snatched from the breast. The infant of the poor is seized for a debt. Lacking clothes, they go about naked. They carry the sheaves, but still go hungry. They crush olives among the terraces. They tread the wine presses, yet suffer thirst. The groans of the dying rise from the city, and the souls of the wounded cry out for help. But God charges no one with wrongdoing. There are those who rebel against the light, who do not know its ways or stay in its paths. When daylight is gone, the murderer rises up, kills the poor and needy, and in the night steals forth like a thief. The eye of the adulterer watches for dusk. He thinks, no eye will see me, and he keeps his face concealed. In the dark, thieves break into houses, but by day they shut themselves in. They want nothing to do with the light. For all of them, midnight is their morning. They make friends with the terrors of darkness, yet they are foam on the surface of the water. Their portion of the land is cursed, so that no one goes to the vineyards, as heat and drought snatch away the melted snow, so that grave snatches away those who have sinned. The womb forgets them. The worm feasts on them. The wicked are no longer remembered, but are broken like a tree. They prey on the barren and childless woman. Let me reread that. They prey on the barren and childless woman, and the widow they show no kindness. But God drags away the mighty by his power. Though they become established, they have no assurance of life. He may let them rest in a feeling of security, but his eyes are on their ways. For a little while they are exalted, and then they are gone. They are brought low and gathered up like all others. They are cut off like heads of grain. If that is not so, who can prove me false and reduce my words to nothing? Then Bildad replies, Dominion and awe belong to God. He establishes order in the heights of heaven. Can his forces be numbered? On whom does his light not rise? How then can a mortal be righteous before God? How can one born of woman be pure? If even the moon is not bright and the stars are not pure in his eyes, how much less a mortal who is but a maggot, a human being who is only a worm? And I think that's going to be the last chapter that I read for now, and I'm just going to continue on chapter 26 tomorrow. But I'm also going to read some of these to you right now. That way I can get those out of the way. So going back to Job chapter 23, we're going to look at verses 1 through 17. This kind of gives an explanation, like I was saying. The bottom of these pages kind of give a description of, what's going on. And I think they're pretty nice to have, just because, I'm not a pastor, and one day I hope I can, have the same knowledge as some of these pastors. I shouldn't say a lot. I'm going to say some, because there's definitely some bad ones out there. Here we are on Job chapter 23, and we're going to go through 1 through 17 here. He says, well, whoever put these notes on there, says, throughout his trials, Job was always honest about what he was thinking and feeling. God is not afraid of our feelings, and strong emotions are a natural part of life. We should not label them good or bad. It is how we choose to express them and deal with them that God is concerned about. Honest assessment of our feelings is important as we seek spiritual growth. It's very true. It's important to talk to God and express your honest feelings, but your reaction is everything. So Job 24, 1 through 25. Why aren't the faithful rewarded or even protected? Why don't exploiters meet a speedy punishment? Where is God when we cry for help as we face momentous loss? We are often compelled to rediscover the foundations of our faith. Job probed the whole realm of God's justice, judgment, and timing, and he came to a humble conclusion. God's ways are just. We are often confused by his timing, but his ways are ultimately just. And I think a lot of people kind of get stuck there, I think there's a lot of people that go, they'll come up with some reason not to believe. It's not, I can't give you a very good explanation, but as I continue reading, I might be able to give you a good answer eventually. But the important thing is to remember that God is working in his ways, and his ways are just. There's reasons these things are happening, and if you look at today's world, it's kind of hard not to believe in God. There's so many reasons to believe right now, especially with all the craziness happening in the world. But we go now here to Job 24, chapter 24, verses 22 through 25. Our need for security affects our decisions, attitudes, and actions every day. Each of us has a working definition of security, and we fear anything that threatens it. Job's entire foundation in this world had been shaken, and yet he learned an important lesson. Real security doesn't lie in what this world has to offer. It lies in the consistency, the justice, and the faithfulness, and the overwhelming power and love of God. All right. Well, I believe that's going to be all my reading for tonight. I do appreciate... Hold on. I do appreciate anybody that is watching this. I just hope that you enjoyed my reading enough to, keep watching tomorrow or something. Because I do plan on getting on here every day and reading. But that's it. I appreciate it. Thanks.